Hello, welcome to the audio demonstration for Octatrol. Right now we're seeing the loading page for Octatrol. Looks like we're up and live. I'm Malfunkn. Worked on this for about 6 months. It's finally out, just launched it this week. So I figured we should just do like a nice little audio demonstration, show what this can do. So this is just the loading screen for my Octatrack. It's plugged in via MIDI, so I just select the first time you open this app you have to select these, but it saves your changes. Here's the MIDI for the analog rhythm. This is just for the blue scenes. This is Octatrol right here. I'm going to add some things to make it look a little bit cooler. Here's all of our parameters and our audio waveforms, and here's pretty much the Octatrol itself, the mapping parameters. So down here I have the Octatrack, the analog rhythm, and the analog 4, and I figured we could just start with something really simple here. And maybe just start with like a single tone. Extend this. Just make that infinite. Cool, so we have a tone on the first track of our analog 4. We'll make this a little smaller. Now, yeah, so we're in the app. I want to start mapping, so I push spacebar. Pops up, hey, select a part. In fact, I haven't even selected a pattern yet, so on my Octatrack, I need to, I'm going to stop this, I'm going to select a pattern. And you'll notice Octatrol automatically updated the pattern to match. The only one thing it can't automatically update is the parts. So in my Octatrack, I can look, I'm actually on part 3, so I'm just going to match it. So I'm going to select part 3. So now everything's set up. The app's set up. I'm ready to just start making music. So we're going to go to that horrendous just tone. So we got a tone, and like, let's see, it almost sounds just too like nasally, right? So how do you do scenes in the Octatrack? Basically, this is set up just like you would the Octatrack. So in the Octatrack, what would you do? You'd select a scene, and we're going to select scene 8 there, and then when you hold it down, you turn a knob on one of the audio parameters, and it automatically maps it. And you can start using the crossfader, and it's mapping. So I tried to follow the Octatrack as much as possible. So the way this one works is instead of holding the scene, you got to select a scene just like you normally would, 16 scenes in a part. But instead of holding the scene down while you map, you just press spacebar on your keyboard. Notice it just went red, and we're mapping, or you can push this button. And now we can start turning knobs on the other machines, like the analog 4. So I'm going to go over here, let's push play just so we hear it, and I'm going to turn the frequency down. Actually, let's see here. The electrons might have, I've had this plugged in for a few hours. Usually, sometimes overbridge itself can go down. Yeah, so there we go. You hit spacebar, adjust the frequency, and we're back to where we started. Also, I do have the app. The only thing it really does at startup is it automatically mutes the tracks at startup. So like right here, I accidentally added some maps. We can select them, remove them. Oh, that's odd. I'm just going to restart the machines here. Overbridge sometimes acts up. So here it had our parameters saved and everything. Let's see. Okay. Again, so let's start where we were. I'm going to go to the filters page on this track. I'm going to hit spacebar to start activating the mappings, and I'm going to turn it. Like maybe down here where it's a little more comfortable. We hit stop, and now that's mapped. Of course, mapped on the same channel. So now this is pretty interesting because we can do, you know, we can do certain things like maybe. I'm going to bring it back up a little. Let's change the pitch on like the second oscillator. Done mapping. Now when I crossfade between, and we're back at our default state. So right now we have two maps, the frequency and the course tune. So you can see this really just extends the Octatrack out of its audio functions into these other machines now. We're really just listening to one track on the Analog 4 right now. I'm not seeing any comments. Let's go to the next scene here. This one's empty. Now I could go back and could copy them all, and I can go to this one and we could paste them. But this time, instead of the tuning right there, maybe I'll make the tuning change that there, and we'll maybe move the frequency back up. And you know, we could add something else, like we can make the vibrato up a little. So I'm done with that one. Go back to default. Making a little ambience here. Now, what's cool is I can go back to that one we just made, and I can put the right scene on the other one we made, fade between them. You'll also notice we're not using general MIDI here, so even though that pitch is only a few steps away, you're not going to get those hard steps that MIDI would give you. If it was only 5 steps, MIDI would only give you 5 steps on this fade, where right now this is actually giving us 127 steps for those 5 steps. So you're going to get lots of detail in between those pitches, which is great because this is analog here. Let's see, we'll copy all of these, put them on put them on another one. This time I'll change the pitch again. Turn the filter back up a little. Turn the chorus up a little. Hit space, we're going to stop. So this is, you know, ambient music's all fun and games, but you at least get to see how easy that is. I mean, just like the Octatrack, when you can set these scenes up ahead of time, and once you're jamming, you're jamming. I mean, I really don't have to touch this, and actually the only time you really have to touch this, the mouse, is when you're selecting a part. I was doing some copy and paste. You can actually, you know, select these and use your keyboard to Apple copy, Apple paste. That's really nice, that 8-tonal slide right there. I got a kick drum on the rhythm. We could just add that in. A little 4 to the floor. You'll also notice I got the waveforms going here to give us a little preview. The analog 4 is pretty quiet, so we could just make this taller if you wanted. Everything's movable. And all your windows should be saved between opening and closing the app, like all the positions and sizes. So yeah, we have a few scenes here. We could do the fade, or we could actually cut hard between them. And see right there, we're making a melody. So this kick drum is a little boring. Let's start associating some stuff with that. The way you select scenes in Octatrol, you'll see how it pops up and down like that. If you go hard left with the fader, it selects scene A. If you go hard right, it selects scene B. Which reminds me, there's a function. Each parameter you actually assign here has a feature here for slide or step. So let's say you didn't want this tune to slide there. You could actually select tune and push step, and it should do a hard step. Just I'm going to put it back to slide. And we can select hard scenes if we want a hard step anyway. So I'm just going to keep it in. Certain things like muting and certain parameters have no choice, but if it's a Boolean variable, like on-off, it has no choice but to use a hard step. But there's other cool parameters in these machines where they don't have linear fades. There's more like 5 options or something. So you can't really slide between those anyway. So I always wanted sort of a stepping feature on the Octatrack to do hard jumps to those instead of getting those weird other settings that are in between them. So that was the idea behind the step function. Got 3 watchers. I just put this other screen down here. It's my Connect, so you can see what I'm doing. I know it looks a little funky. So this kick drum, we'll go over here. I want something to happen to this kick drum, so we're going to select it on the rhythm here. I'm just going to hit space. We're going to start mapping, and I'm going to move the frequency of that up. If I stop mapping now, you'll hear that it's assigned to that. We can do other things. We can extend the decay. When you're not mapping, whatever parameters you turn become the new default state. Just so you know. The thing to know with the rhythm, I'm adjusting some of the synth parameters on the synth page. And each one of the synth parameters on the rhythm actually have a defined voicing. So here's all the voicings available for the bass drum and so on and so forth. So I know I have a manual add drop down here. We'll select the rhythm here. And these are all the parameters in the rhythm. However, each one of these, you'll notice track 2, you know, cymbal, cowbell, hi-hat. Not all of these are available on track 2, but they have all of, that's just the way Elektron broke down their parameters. So if you do select them manually, you got to make sure the voicing matches. I mean, if you ever do this, there's really no reason. We're going to push cancel. The easiest way is you can push this or space and just change the parameter straight on the machine and listen to it. But just so you know, like here's the vibrato. If you do change the parameter in here, it will change and update on the machines as well. So you could technically write a whole song completely out of your mouse user interface as well. However, I'm sort of I know most of us don't use our computers live. I think it's sort of funny to make this app for a live environment, but that's why I made it as hands-off as possible. Once you build this, you can just let it run. Got a snare. So we'll start messing with this snare and this. It's too loud, so we'll turn on the volume there. Maybe some reverb. Delay. Here's the sample parameters. In fact, we can change the start time. Now that's a perfect example. I don't want it to slide between the samples, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to make it step so it goes directly to that sample slot. I'm going to stop mapping and sort of hear what this sounds like. You'll notice the sample will hold until I hit far right. And there, the sample is updated. reverb. Let's change the pitch up. Let's do something to the kick drum here. I'm going to change the pitch down. Go back to the analog 4 here. Let's mess with some of this. I'm going to work with the second oscillator, pump it up an octave, make that step mode. I'm even going to change the waveform. And I'm going to make that step as well. Change the way they blend together. Cool too is these machines, you can also have their own set of scenes where you can assign things. So for this kick drum, for example, you know, we can go into scene mode here, and I can change the kick drum very easily using its own features. So we could just map that into Octatrol. Here's our performances on the, see me pushing, you can actually see me pushing down the performances on the rhythm here. So we could start mapping, and I can push those down and stop mapping. And now you see those green pads are added for the performance, as well as the blue one for the scenes. White ones are for tracks. I tried to color code it as best I could, and it gets a little hairy with all the pads. Got some more voices here we could add. Let's see what I got here. I'm just gonna record a little ditty. Nice sound. Go over here and I'm gonna map. while we're on this, I'll just bring it down an octave. Good step. So yeah, using pretty much the Octatrol alone, we're exclusively sending all these parameter changes here. Listening to a snare drum and a kick drum and 2 analog voicings. Floor to the floor. Love that smooth slide. MIDI could never do that. We're pretty much jamming right now. Hope everybody has enjoyed some of this demonstration. I don't see any comments. I'm really only using about 4 scenes on here. This one I really like, so we'll just copy all. Put it here. I'm going to retune this. we're only hearing the analog rhythm here and the analog 4 being controlled pretty much exclusively by Octatrol. Octatrol just came out a couple days ago. I hope everybody likes it. Right now we're just controlling scene parameters on these analog devices. Probably using about 6 or 7 scenes here. And yeah, we just constructed a song in, I don't know, the last half hour or so. You can also assign mutes. So right there, one-handedly, I'm muting my drum machine. And also solos. So we hear what that solo sounds like. It's the one-handed jam right here. It's good for all your Instagram selfies while you're trying to post jams. And we can bring it back down. So, I hope everybody has a little bit better understanding of some of the process and building a track with Octatrol. It's really fun, actually. Pretty similar to the Octatrack. Instead of holding the scene while you assign your values, you toggle it with spacebar, and you can use both machines to start assigning your values. What we just heard was 2 voicings on the analog 4 and basically a kick drum and snare on the analog rhythm, a little bit of hi-hat at the end. All of the pitches and changes and filters and everything was being controlled with Octatrol here. And I tried to visually put all the mappings in here so you could sort of see where things are going. Look, you can see here we're only mapping to channels 1 and 2 on the analog rhythm, and channels 1 on the analog 4 here. And you can see that here in the menu. I also got deselect here if you don't want this drop-down menu down. But that's pretty much it. We have all the parameter values over here in the waveforms. You could probably see those playing along with it. I also added this log view. And this just has basically just testing data for knowing what's going on. Like tells you, certain data when you save things, when you change scenes, and everything's movable, modular. Tried to have a pretty easy design. In fact, the way you're watching it right now is I'm just running this through Siphon into a web broadcasting app. So you could easily siphon this into your VJ app and project this for your live visuals and or web feeds. And it's sort of nice just seeing what's going on under the hood. I hope everybody enjoyed this demo. It was really slow and relaxing. I know it could have gone quicker, but had really fun making with you, and hope you all enjoy Octatrol as much as I enjoyed making it. Thanks.